Hello. We're trying to get our gang together. We're trying to get the gals to call in and go back to being a home economist. If you had a three-bedroom brick house on a half-acre lot and 2.2 children and a hubby to take care of, how much of a budget would you need to get the shop up and running? And the guys to call in. If you had a job at the stereotypical plumber, how many hours would you have to work in order to do that? I think it was around about 12,500 in 1973. 1973 represented the highest standard of living in the United States. Welcome, by the way, if you're in Melbourne, Australia. It's Sunday morning there. We're here so we could try and get people from Australia to call in as well. If we could get those two numbers, how much does it cost to get things running? How much is clothes and how much of food? How much is a couch cost, and that sort of thing? If you can get that part, you have a base to start with. You know how many hours you have to work. You know how much money you need, and you can go from there from two. Here in the United States, they have a big deal about stopping food stamps and Section 8 housing. And I was trying to throw a fit on YouTube because the gal, especially single moms, you don't have Section 8 housing. You get in your own house. It's home economics. And you don't have food stamps. You have the family budget. And that was what they threw out. And they're trying to present that group as being the kind of sort of person that needs to go out and get a job and that sort of thing. Nope, sorry, there's a little backwards there. In 1973, here in the United States and Great Britain and Australia as well, the United States is usually a few years behind. We usually ended up doing whatever Great Britain did, maybe 5-10 years down the road. And that was when there was a profound change in our society. There was a welded connection between money and malice. And so if the more malicious you were, the more money you made. And the example from one of our anecdotes is the young man who knows how to manipulate and intimidate people. And he prides himself on, he's a Darwin alpha male. He doesn't put you in his own business. He finds people smaller than him and he attacks the weak. And he gets a degree in architecture, and he marries a gal out of college with a degree in counseling. And if you recall at the time, that was when the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual changed the rules, or they really didn't have the rules quite set, but they changed the rules. They made homosexuality no longer a mental illness. And the hustle, the bum's rush there, was that they threw out saying that being a normal, well-adjusted person isn't a natural thing. They threw out being a normal, well-adjusted person, and they threw out willing the good of another person and doing it because Christ rose on the third day. Those three things. You're listening to this. You both the Catholic and the atheist define mental illness as the normal taken into the abnormal, from the cold to the flu to pneumonia. The Catholics say, hold on, go backwards, from pneumonia back to the flu, back to a cold, and the normal is normal, but not good enough. For example, the young man sits in a chair and he closes his eyes and he fantasizes about the gals until he becomes sexually aroused. He opens his eyes and he does it again, only this time he's fantasizing about actually getting the gal pregnant, starting a family and raising a family. And right there, you can see things with a snap of, you can see original sin with a snap of a finger. For the young man to do that, it's not natural at all. He has to be taught that. And if you add fear, your attitude changes with fear, and the environment, the attitude changes your environment, and your environment changes your attitude. And it's ignorance. You have to be taught that. So that very famous phrase from philosophy, what takes away your free will? Fear, sex, ignorance, and violence. And in order to have free will, you have to some outside other imposed thing. And if you put a circle out there, that you hold as faith. That's what Christ is, Christ rising from the dead. A little more to it than that, but there's always a straight line. In other words, the gals I'm hoping to get to start calling in, you're the ones that are normal and well-adjusted. And quite frankly, if you laid down the law and said, from now on, only the gals that changes the dirty diapers gets the romance, I promise you, poverty would fly right out the window. And if you're a guy, you don't rent property to people, you don't rent property from people. You're first your own man and then part of a well-oiled group. And so you could see that if you were trying hard to get a bicycle for the child and get the next generation of children raised, you were trying to be a responsible adult, you would have to start working more and more hours. You can see that in plumbers and welders in the trades. They had to keep working more and more hours. If you went the other way, if you were quite a scoundrel, and excuse me, I kind of, you're that architect we were talking about. He's from the 1970s. He learns how to manipulate people. He has an attitude. He has no love in them. He has no sense of guilt. Sometimes he just likes to act like a scoundrel, he says. And he marries a gal right out of school, and she has a degree in counseling. And you don't, it's hard to explain to somebody that you don't have, that to be, you were a male chauvinist pig if you had any sense of empathy and you tried to support a wife and child. And you were an oppressed gal. You weren't very bright. You were stupid. The Catholic priest was considered mentally ill all of a sudden. And so what did they do? They put their two incomes together, and then instead of buying a house, they bought a duplex, and they started renting out property to other people. At the time, hubby still made, it was hubby's income that still paid the gas and electric bill, and the gal's income was extra. And they had an attitude, and so they'd buy a duplex and start renting out property to people and letting them pay for, letting the renters pay for their mortgage. And you could see it happening. The guys who were at the very bottom of that middle class, who could still afford to get into a starter house, they no longer could. They had to start renting, and you could see the class of peasantry right there. The thin edge of a wedge, the British would say. And it just goes on from there. The lazy V, it's just like this, going up and up and up. You're at the bottom of this. So if you're beside yourself because you're a gal and you don't know what to do, you can't possibly take care of a toddler all night and then go to work all day. And it just doesn't work out, and it's not going to work out. So we have our own plan here. We know what to do. We know what's wrong, what to do about it, and how to do it. The first stage is to get you guys to start calling in. So if you're listening to this and you happen to be, this is about 4 o'clock LA time, 7 o'clock in the evening in New York, and 9 o'clock in the morning in Brisbane, Australia, you call in and start joining the gang in the playground. If you would do that or pass the word and start doing that, then you can do something about it. By the way, here in Tucson, where this is being broadcast from, I tried to find out just how much a single gal would need if she was a single mom and she had a toddler. And she had a job that paid exceptionally well, far better than the average of $50,000 a year. And how much was rent? And the very cheapest is about $1,600. Anything else that you wouldn't want a child to live in. And it was about $900 for daycare, and the cheapest you could possibly get is $200 for a car, and about $600 to $700 for a year for insurance and health insurance. It didn't work out. It didn't even come close to working out, and it's not going to. It's going to get worse. The whole idea there is a larger picture, and the larger picture was the communists pushing us into a consumption society. They consumed and everybody else produced, and they started pushing the factories overseas, and the idea is that they would keep it up until society crashes, and then somehow they come in and take over. They never really say what they do after that, but it works, and it's working now. There are people living in the streets. They say the Skid Row in LA is about 50 blocks long, I heard, and it's just getting worse. You would never see that. You didn't come close to seeing that in the 60s and 70s. They were the glory days of the U.S., and what made the glorious days of the U.S.? The post-World War II gang, the ones that tried to be the ideal person and the ideal man. I was trying to put together a little anecdote for YouTube, and I showing some clips, and there were among them three clips. One was suburbia America in the 1950s, and there were nice, clean houses, and they were darn good looking, not too big. They weren't mansions, and they were very nice. And the point being, the people who built them lived in them. In other words, they were the people who lived in those houses was the auto mechanic and the plumber that did the plumbing for the house, and a milkman, if you remember what the milkman was. And that was the ideal society. That was unprecedented in the history of human beings on this earth, where the middle class had such a high standard of living, where the people that did the producing did the consuming. Communists attempt to say that's what they do. No, that's not what they do. Fascists say the same thing. No, that's not what they do. And there's an expression from the 1950s in the United States. They're the cruel, queer, atheistic, communist, and fascist. In other words, they're the same thing, same identity, and that identity is a bunch of queer scoundrels. I think they got that one right. Let's go over here. The opposite of that is the idea of being a normal, well-adjusted Joe, even though you're only going to bat about 300 at best. And the ideal woman, the ideal man, it has the ideal society. You straighten yourself up emotionally. You will the good of another person. You race relegated to an endearing quality of your parents. These thoughts that have to do with sex have to do with getting the gal pregnant. You're a race of Christ. And then it spills into home economics. And as you remember, home economics is where you picture a detached 1950s house. That's where the married couple is the base economic unit, smallest economic thing. 10-year-olds can't pay for their mommies. Mommies can't take care of their kids. And so it's the smallest economic thing. And so you picture a house and then go off to the side. And in our shop manual fashion, to keep things within the margin of error, you start off with farming and mining. And then above that, manufacturing. And above that, wholesale, retail, and repair. And above that, retirement, education, and recreation. And doctors and lawyers form a ladder that holds it all together, a lattice. And the monk causes it all to come in to begin with. All of this is a God and country thing. It comes out of popes and monks and monasteries. You ask the gal how many oranges she wants to use, you know how many orange trees to plant. And as long as the guy has a job such as working in a furniture store, he has a job. That would be a job. A professional athlete would be not a job. You ask the couple, the gal, what kind of couch she wants, and all of the manufacturing, all the trees and the fabric and the stores and the advertising, all geared toward getting that gal what she wants. She literally becomes the first definition of the being a citizen. Her and the guy. Well, we've been on here for closing in on 15 minutes now, and so I hope someone will listen to this. I hope someone will pass the word And I hope someone will be on tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock LA time, which is about 5 o'clock Great Britain time. I have a feeling it's a little midnight in Australia. And a few other places around the globe. I hope you'll listen to this. I hope you'll join this gang in the playground and start tuning into the top chat and telling us what you need. Once you get that, you can go to work and we can do something about it. Well, good luck to you. And bless your heart if you're one of the gals that has a single mom and you're supposed to come up with rent and you're getting kicked out of, you're losing your food stamps and Section 8 housing. I'm sorry. I hope the MAGA guys will wake up and do something about it. And just to say something out loud, it's not Donald Trump's fault. That said, it was the other guy's fault. Right now, it's the Democrats in the United States. They couldn't care less. You know what they're doing? They're starving you just like they do in the Soviet Union, just like they did in China, just like Mexico and lots of other places in this world, to get you to turn around and start attacking Trump. It's a bum's rush. It's hustling. And they couldn't care less whether they cause people to starve or not. And somebody better man up and start standing up to the guys. If that MAGA group can't do it, well, get out of there. We'll get someone else in there. Somebody better start standing up to these guys. Maybe we need Melania Trump. Melania Trump is an absolute poster child of just the sort of gal we need. We need an icon that the gals can turn to, and she's perfect for it. And they still have her out of the loop. And I hope maybe you can hear this and do something about that. Well, thank you again. We hope to see you tomorrow morning at 9, and if not, next week at 4 o'clock. Next week at 4 o'clock LA time.